Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Zionist AF. I am your host, Anya. I am joined by two people today. We were like, you know what? Enough of this single guest nonsense. We're going to just keep upping the game. We went from audio to video, and now we're just like, we're going to have multiple guests at one time. The reason we're having multiple guests at one time is this topic is big, and we just need a lot of people's voices. And this will be really, really fun because I am joined by two stellar individuals, but all of whom have lived in Israel at some point. So there might be points in this podcast, guys, where we're talking over each other. And as we've talked about before, that does not mean that we are being rude to one another. It just means that we're so into the conversation, none of us are willing to wait our turn, but we're still listening to one another. So in the event that does happen, just go with the flow. It'll be fine. We're all hearing each other. You'll hear all of us fine. It'll just be like you're in Israel. So I am joined by two people. I have Aaron and Maor today from IVC. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about the organization. And it's not just that these two awesome guys are chilling right now and talking to us. Like, there's actual really good stuff in here. So I don't know if we want to go in alphabetical order. Aaron, then Maor. I mean, you guys decide. Or, thumb wrestle, whatever.
You ready for thumb wrestle?
No, you want the thumb wrestle? No, go ahead. You first. Ours first.
Aaron Rose.
Ladies first.
Age before
I already
beauty.
know this is going to be a good time.
My name is Aaron Rose. I'm the founder and head of IVC. I'm a reservist. Been living down here in South Florida for a little over 5 years. I guess what pertains a little to our conversation is that I served in a unit called McLun, which is part of the Commando Brigade, and I did reserves right now in the last round in a unit called 551, which is part of reserves.
Aaron, AFO, you said reservist. You're telling a unit. That doesn't sound like U.S. Army info or anything like that. So what were you a reservist in?
Oh, I was a reservist in the IDF. I guess pertaining to American slang, it's called a 11 Alpha Bravo, which is equivalent, I guess, to the Rangers here.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't know we were able to equate these things. So okay, all
right. And yeah, that's in a small nutshell who I am, what I am. Obviously, I'm sure we can dive into it, but I want to give Maor a little small to introduce himself before he turns bashful on me.
All right, so my name is Maor Hoffman. I'm living here in South Florida. Used to live in Israel all my life. Before I was reserved in October 7 to back to Israel. I flew back to Israel on October 8th, and I'm reserved the same unit as Aaron, and now I am proud part of the IVC organization.
Awesome. So I think a couple really important things just came up. So first and foremost, so anyone who is listening and not just following by the transcript would be like, huh, it's interesting. They sound different. Now, Maor has obviously we hear his accent. He is from Israel. Maor, where in Israel, if you wouldn't mind, and if you want to share, did you grow up? You said all my life. So
I grew up in near to Jerusalem. It's called Gush Etzion. It's
I do know where that is.
You know what it is, exactly. And my adult life, I was live in Emek Hefer. It's a small kibbutzim and villages between Netanya and Hadera.
Nice.
On the sea. Beautiful place.
And we know which sea that is. The protesters don't, but we do. My favorite response. My favorite response to that was, the sea, it's like an ocean. I was like, there's not enough time for you, sweetie. Dear God, you I don't know how to picture you.
And got back to me. Give me culture with the conversation.
Okay, I just can't. Yeah. Now, Aaron, I'm not hearing an accent from you, but even though, full disclosure, Aaron and I we talked briefly before the podcast. I have never had the privilege yet of coming down, but I will be down to visit you guys and see you guys are in, the house, which we're going to get to, and the purpose of the entire organization. I'll be coming down. Not a surprise. Don't worry. I won't. Thank you. See, I love that. See, I know that when I get down there, there'll be coffee and tea and water and food.
Exactly.
And they'll be like, you walk in, did you drink something? Did you eat something?
A black coffee, Turkish coffee.
when he came over today, I made sure to feed him some
Wow.
nice, freshly made shakshuka.
It was beautiful shakshuka, Israeli breakfast.
I love shakshuka, and I used to put up pictures just of different like versions of it that I would make. But
Aaron just
listen,
told me he make the best shakshuka. You need to try
I
it.
Not to lightly flex, but it's been a recipe I've been perfecting for the last probably 8 years.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I mean, I am willing to eat that and even not, but maybe perhaps we could do like a crazy fundraiser and it's like a shakshuka, cook-off with a bunch of people. That would be kind of fun. I actually think that'd be super fun.
Love it.
Lama lo, let's do it. I don't know if we're going to let Paul cook though. I don't know if he's ever made it. We'll have to check with him. But I don't know that like the first foray would be like during the
he's going to be the
competition.
judge.
Oh, well, he'll be more than happy to eat. I am sure of that.
I'm gonna join them to be a judge.
All of a sudden, they start to get spicier and spicier just to see when it'll hit them.
Yes.
On my most recent trip, I got to eat. Well, I mean, I eat all the time in Israel, and but one of the last shakshukas I ate was made by one of the guys that was working in the restaurant who's Ethiopian.
Ooh.
And when I sat down, one of the other guys was like, "Anya, it's spicy," and I was like,
Yeah,
"Is it
it's
spicy for you, or is it like spicy for you?" And I asked. His name is Zachi, the guy who is living in Israel. He's an Ethiopian refugee. And I said, Zachi, is it spicy like you spicy, or is it spicy like the rest of us at the table spicy? And he goes, not me spicy. And I was like, oh, okay, I can eat it then.
No, it's not comparing. If it was spicy for him, not even try. Not even
right.
smell
That's
it.
why I was like, okay.
But if you tell you it's spicy, so you need to trust.
Yeah. No, I love it. I just can't eat too much of it because all of a sudden it's like, oh dear God, my face is burning.
It's going to hurt after that. It's going to be aftertaste.
So just yeah. Awesome. But
not for the podcast. Sorry.
now our longtime followers are just laughing at this point because in my old podcast, which was an audio only podcast, my friend did an intro for me with a very fake heavy Israeli accent, and at the end he's like, "And grab your plate of shakshuka and listen up," so because inevitably food somehow makes it into the conversation or into whatever's going on in Israel. So,
Of course, because they have the best food.
Well, right. I mean, that's how it is.
Part of the culture.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I do want to put a pin in the shakshuka issue for just a moment. Because, Aaron, I want to just, have everyone who is meeting you for the first time, theoretically, unless they already know you and they happen to be tuning into this episode. We're talking, you and I have a similar sounding, tone to our voice versus Maor, but you also speak Hebrew fluently because you've lived in both places.
Oh, 100%. If need be, I could turn on the Israeli accent and give you a lesson too.
No, it's fine. I'm just. I just wanted to have you share a bit more because Maor shared he had lived in Israel most of his life, served, and then he's living here now. So do you have a similar story or just to share it? I mean, again, we have to forget what I know. We have to tell everyone.
So I'm a master of disguise when it comes to that. Both my parents are American.
Helicopter? Is this where you're going to have yourself?
Don't speak about it.
It's classified.
So both your parents are American.
Yes. Chicago, New York. Most of my siblings were actually born in the U.S., but then I was actually born in Jerusalem itself when they became Zionist AF and moved down there, like our podcast host. And so I was raised there and pertained there most of my life. There was a period in around right at the beginning of high school that our family did get up and move to New York for about a year in 5 towns, and then came back and
Long Island listeners.
Yeah.
Did you guys start sounding like that? Accent. Long Island?
Only my mom when she talks about Bapak.
See, you have to have fun when you're learning. So your parents are American. They moved to Israel because they're a Zionist AF. So already amazeballs, love them. But you were, but I like that you're like, yeah, all my other siblings were born in the U.S., but not me, because I was the best and born in Israel. All right, cool. The trailblazer. But at some point after serving in the IDF,
got up
during the regular time post high school. Oh my God, that's so weird. Do like Israelis do that after the IDF?
Apparently, we like finding ourselves in every little small country there is. I mostly did Asia, like Thailand and Vietnam.
Thailand and yeah. South America, Thailand. Few people traverse the U.S., but yeah. That's awesome. Well, again, like most of the people who are following the podcast, unless we have some new followers, and welcome. We always welcome new people. And even if you're following me just to hate on me, thank you again for allowing me to occupy that much of your headspace. I am that awesome. Thank you. All Israelis serve after high school, men and women. Now, if there's obviously like a reason you can't physically serve, there are other sorts of community service and stuff like that. And I do think that this idea of national service is super important. And I think one of the reasons that both of you are able to be sitting here today and joining us and talking about what you guys are doing and how you hope to bring that further and further to more people is because of this sense of community. It's not it's we, not me. And this is a rhyming thing for all the people out there who have to rhyme things. So it's we, not me, anachnu, lo ani.
Yeah.
Isn't that special? How that also rhymes? I know. Because from the river to the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hold on there. From the river to the sea, Israel has and always will be. Just saying.
Amen to that.
That is the correct rhyme. That is the correct rhyme. So on that note, yes.
I wasn't part of the majority that was supposed to be drafted because after that, my family became a little more orthodoxy. And of the majority of my family, I'm one of two out of 8 that served. So I'm just going to make this stop making noise. So when I first got out of high school, which was also like a yeshiva, like an orthodoxy studies, I took the first year off and I found myself volunteering for an organization helping to send like care packages for lone soldiers. And very quickly, it just came to a simple conclusion. If someone else is willing to put down their life to save and make me have a comforter home, there's no way I'm not doing the same. And hence my whole journey became with the we.
I love it. Now, it is a really crazy thing, like the fact that you just said that. And so I will be able to say that I'm officially like living in Israel about, about a year from now, give or take, when my son graduates from high school. And I always get this question, well, is he going to come with you? And I was like, well, he sure as hell is not interested in attending any college or university in the United States right now, because he's like, he is not afraid, let me tell you, because my son, when he came home from Israel, not this summer that we're currently just ending, but the summer before, he announced that he's going to become a tank driver. And I laughed at him profusely because I said, you don't even drive a car very well. And then he's like, no, it's fine. Then the tank is fine. And I was like, no, Solomon, absolutely not. But you are joining the IDF, but no, sweetie, I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to take you as a tank driver. But then of course I learned that was the division that they had come talk to his, I got to shout them out. I always do. C-Teen. I love C-Teen. So we are not very religious people ourselves, but C-Teen is a great organization who really engages Jewish youth of all like religious levels and really talks about like tikkun olam and community oriented living. So I think that's very important. And just to plug them one other time, my son was like C-Teen Leader of the Year, top 3 for the entire organization. So yay. So very, very proud of that. And I say, no, he is coming with me. We did make a decision as a family, he and I. We asked the dogs. They didn't have a lot of input, but he and I decided that since he was like, oh, I'm joining the IDF. Anyway, he's just going to come with me. Because originally we thought, okay, well, maybe you want to do, university here, or maybe you want to do a gap program. But with everything going on, as a stand, we're saying, no, we are not we are just unwilling to participate in your very broken, very disgusting system. And we were part of a Fox interview and story about American Jews no longer wanting to send their kids to college. And I was asked, are you capitulating? And I was like, well, first of all, great SAT word. Okay. And I said, no, I'm not capitulating at all. I'm telling the universities and colleges, like, F you until you can get your shit in line. I have no interest, because what you've shown me is you have nothing to offer my family or my son. You legitimately have nothing. So why would I waste his time, our money, in being part of that? Like, no, thank you. So we will be moving to Israel in a year. By the way, my son made this in school.
Thanks to Israel.
Yeah, it's cool. He's actually taking some of those, life skill courses, like machine shop type things and construction and all that good stuff. So, just to have actual life skills.
You guys need an extra handyman down here.
Listen, oh my God, Sally, you want to go to Florida? Yeah. Well, that won't take very long. So maybe I'll bring him with me when we come down to do the follow-up episode with everyone, and the shakshuka cook-off. But I do want to I want to almost like take a step back and kind of find out why we're even sitting together. I mean, me virtually sitting with you guys, but you guys are sitting together, because we have to kind of talk about overall. So as we were explaining, there's the initial service after high school that men and women both participate in. And there are, and of course, Israel has an amazing armed services, conglomerate. There's everything. There's the Navy, the Air Force. It's just like it is here in the States, like of like division of stuff. But it is not a voluntary thing. It is mandatory. And I do find it interesting that like you guys enter at 18, and possibly the person who's like commanding you at that point might be someone who's like barely 2 years older than you. But it's crazy because the maturity is like leaps and bounds beyond, because overall it's not just that you are coming together to defend our country, our only little tiny place in this entire world. But in addition, that's okay. The more the merrier. He can come on and say hi. There's something else to it. And I think that it speaks to the heart and soul of why Israel is the way it is, and why people are this way, and why already, Aaron, this is, this idea that you had out of a need of your own is already growing. And there's this really interesting thing that happens in Israel. And I think that we kind of have to like put it out there and talk about it a little bit so that people really do understand. And I jokingly said at the beginning of the podcast, like, hey, we might be talking over each other and all that other stuff. And it's not like yes, Israelis are heated, but that's one of the things I love about Israel, because I'm a very passionate person. But it's not that. It's like this sense of community and a genuine wanting to understand and support one another. And I think you see that all throughout. I think a lot of that comes, and I know a lot of the lifelong bonds are coming from the people you met during your time serving in the IDF. But in addition to that, there's like this sense of community within the country. And if someone has broken down, like their car has broken down on the highway, if someone falls, in Israel, you will have multiple people stopping to help. Whereas like here in the US, like when I was assaulted on the streets of New York City, not one single person stopped to help me. But I did defend myself, like I was okay and nothing happened. And I was not assaulted. I don't believe I was assaulted because I was Jewish. I think it was just an illegal migrant who wanted to steal something from me, which he did not get, because I got in his face and screamed so loud and so many things that I would never repeat on this podcast, because for sure we would be flagged and then probably banned. Like I was okay. And I got up, dusted myself off, and like kept going. And I was thinking to myself, like, my God, if this were Israel, there'd be like, I'll break it down into a third. Okay. So a third of the people would have been helping me. A third of the other people would have been tackling him and holding on to him until the cops came. And then the other third would have gone in to either get water, provide me water, ask me if I needed something, food, water, something. coffee, perhaps. I don't know. Everyone's like, do you want a coffee? And I'm like, that's the difference. And we don't. Yeah, yeah, excuse me. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm just gonna get you a hot plate of shakshuka. But that is something that will happen no matter who you are in Israel and no matter where you are in Israel. And there's a lot of misunderstandings about that. Also something I just in case, again, we have listeners that are new to us and may not have this information. I want to always make sure that we put some things out there. So all Israelis will serve, with the little caveat of, if you are an Israeli Arab, you're not forced to serve, but many of them do, and many of the Israeli Arabs also reported to reserve duty. And when we're talking about reserve duty, we might use the word Milum, guys, and we talk about it so much that the AI of this program that helps me generate the transcript has already learned to spell it correctly. So yay. So feel free to drop any sort of Hebrew words, as long as we make sure that we pause for a second and clarify with, the people who are watching us what that means. And also at some point I'm going to ask each of you, what is your favorite word to say in Hebrew? I have two, but I'll wait to drop those on you. No, hold on. They're gonna sneak up and just grab you. And but that is something to really understand, and I think that sense of community and having to make sure you have the back of the person next to you really helps explain not only why both of you who were residing in the United States on October 7th, both of you stopped your lives and flew home to report for Milum, for reserve duty. And I'd like, if possible, again, each of you can decide who's going to go first, but kind of like what that meant, for you that at that moment. Not necessarily, and it's also very hard when you are here, and I am also in the United States at the moment. It is really hard when you're not seeing what's actually going on the mainstream media. It's as if nothing's happening in Israel, that day or any other day. But yet, we have, with technology, you can be watching Israeli TV through, and you can get all your news, and plus you have family and friends who are calling, and there's a million WhatsApp groups and everyone's sharing information all the time. But it's a different feeling when you're here. So you guys were both here with that feeling, with at least a portion of your family and friends still living in Israel. Kind of how did that happen? How did you guys just kind of feel like, okay, and go?
All right. I take you back to the October 7th, and I will tell the story about how this all things rolling and how it became for me to what it became. My birthday is October 6th, actually. So we've been celebrating in my home. A couple of friends with, I don't know, beer and whiskey and everything. It was so different situation than what nobody expect to what's going to happen. And then one of the guy turned on the TV, like he says, all the Israeli channels, and we just start to see. I remember the moment that I don't believe what my eyes actually see. I just ask myself, "This is true. This can happen? No way. It's some mistakes. It's no way." It's like the first reaction, the really first reaction was, "It's no way it can happen. Like, we are Israeli. Come on, it's can happen to us." And then the videos start running and all the talking, and then the WhatsApp group start talking. The dead WhatsApp group of Milum. All my team, like we've been silenced during the year. We're talking like individually, but the WhatsApp group, most of the times they're on silence. They're on silence. They dead, and eventually, and suddenly it started to become alive again, and a lot of talking. And hey, the time was 6 in the morning, and it is holiday in Israel. Nobody wake in 6 in the morning. So I start understanding something is wrong. Something is not as usual. I used to work for security in Israel, so I immediately pick some calls and ask some friends they know something, and everybody told me, Hoffman, this is gonna be a chaos. Be prepared. We're going to be in a war. And I said, okay. Now I'm starting to understand. And what I'm telling you now, it's about of, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours. Like everything is running so fast. It was a crazy. I take the phone and I call to my friend. He work for El Al. At the same time, he used to work for El Al, not anymore. And I call him and I call him and I said, hey, I need your help. They say, yeah, we're in a crisis here. What can I help you? How can I help you? I said, I'm stuck in America. I'm living in America and I have to go back to Israel because all my unit is on duty. Like, put the uniform again and take the weapon already and going south to the kibbutzim. I have to be there. He told me, all right, but it's holiday now in America. The first flight will be in the evening. Go to the airport. I will fix it. You will be in the plane. Of course, I pay a lot of money because it's halal, and
Yes,
and
listen,
but
El Al,
still,
or I think this is a good time for us to remind El Al, we do love you, and I get that you're the only one that has like the cojones to fly right now, since American-owned airlines, United and Delta, are a bunch of like losers. But really, El Al, we really need to talk about this a little bit more
exactly.
because
We need to talk about it. This is I don't know. They make fun of us. Like they make money about us. They make. I don't know how to say it, but they don't
yeah,
write. They don't write. It's
listen,
a letter because it's a
I understand capitalism and everything, and I understand that they need to make money to fly, but it's interesting that you said like your friends like, yeah, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Now I don't think at that point like that next day, which is when you were like already mobilized to go, LL, I don't think that anyone quite really understood the depth of everything that was going on. But within a week, LL did put out a statement. Like, I was supposed to fly to Israel like a week and a half later, and I was not canceling my ticket. But then it kind of got to the point where I was like, wait, am I helping by going, or am I then just being more of like a burden? But then when LL put out the statement, like, if you do not have to fly, can you please give up your seat? They issue you like a voucher or whatever, but because we're trying to get soldiers who are reporting for Milum home. So I think that there was something though we definitely have to talk about how we can fix this, like, moving forward, like if God forbid another crisis happened, or, we all just decide we need to go to Israel, like in a big old party group. And we need to take over like an LL plane to just go, that we need to talk to them about making that little
one of the
smoother. But
news in one of the news in Israel said it in I don't know most correctly way about Elal and about the situation. He said, "No problem. I understand the capitalism, like you said. I understand the capitalism. It's not a government company. It's a private company. Go ahead, no problem. But it is an important part. Take down the Israeli flag on your tailwind, and not call yourself the national company because you're not. You're not. A lot of Israeli living here. I can't see my family, and my family can't see because one ticket is you need to take. I don't know. In Hebrew, we say mashkanta.
yeah,
You know, it
you do.
means
You kind of need to take out a loan. Well, you know what? The owners of LL, the American owners of LL, live in New York, so perhaps we, can just like call them and have a meeting with them. Or especially when you're sitting like this. Not gonna lie, feeling like I'm feeling like I'm gonna say yes to whatever it is that you're suggesting. Even
sorry,
though you really like
sorry.
by all no no no
I just
no
got
no
used
no
to it.
no
I
go
feel
no stay
comfortable
like
like
that,
that.
stay like that. Come on, more like, work with me here. See,
I
you
will
know
do
what
it.
you're gonna
Go
do?
ahead
I'm gonna start talking to them, and you're just gonna stand there like that, just like
and say it
looking at
like
them.
that and say it like that.
No, just yeah. See, I try that and it
You just got
doesn't.
him to make him flex.
Yeah, no, but I don't know that my face is that intimidating. I like to think I have amazing resting bitch face, and that's like, don't mess with me. But I don't know that that's true. So I'm just thinking maybe like that would work out well. But it was the craziest thing, and the one thing that they did cover here in the States was that there was this way crazy influx of Israelis who were living overseas, flying home to Israel. Just as soon as they could get on a plane, they were getting on a plane and returning. And that is something that is just so noteworthy. And I have to say, like, you know, Todar Rabba and Kol HaKavod to both of you who made that decision. You literally, like, listen, everyone who reported to Milum, no matter where you were living at that moment, stopped their life. Put the pause button, you know, or whatever it is. And then, of course, that has reverberations and repercussions for everyone else around you, like businesses, all these other things. But everyone stopped their life because there's that sense, that not just sense of obligation to one another. And I obligation sounds like a negative word, but I mean it in the most positive way. But you're part of something. You belong to something, and therefore, Baruch. See, that's where it is. Obviously, you would. That's not the number one. That's number two. But you would obviously be. Of course, I'm reporting. Like, there was no question in your mind. How can your first call was obviously because you're a smart guy. You're like, let me call my friend who works for the airline, make sure I can get on the plane.
Cool.
Right, yeah. So, and by the way, when I returned home, I met the most lovely people working for El Al on my last trip. Excuse me, I didn't return home. I returned to the States. I left my home and returned to the States. But there's that sense. So you dropped everything. You went. I assume that, you know, you had things going on here that essentially just started to pause.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Aaron, a similar story.
Yeah.
Like,
funny enough, the day before that, I had a dear friend in Israel. It's in the same brigade of me in reserves. We sat down the day before he came to visit his wife's family. So he came with his wife, his kid, and they were here. So literally on Thursday, we're sitting down, catching up, grabbing some beers. He's an Orthodox Jew, right? Suddenly, first thing in the morning, I get a phone call from him on Saturday. What? What is going on?
Right away,
here?
you're like, wait, what?
What is? I completely taken aback. He's the last person that will ever call. He's like, okay, so how are we getting to Israel? Like, what are we doing? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you don't know what's going on? I was like, no. What else going on? You literally saw your phone call and got out of bed.
Yeah. And a lot of people were, yeah, because again, we're 7 hours on the East Coast. We're 7 hours behind time wise in Israel. So that already puts everyone at a disadvantage. And then if you're someone who is religious, the, you know, Shabbat, which starts Friday night to Saturday night, on top of that, it was an additional holiday. So there were people that were in synagogue or people who were religious who had turned their phones off. Some people just turn them off. Some people just put them away. And again, everyone does whatever makes them happy. Like, I have my phone on. I'm not Shomer Shabbos. I'm not a very religious person, but like there is like that almost like lull, and that was very intentional on the side of the enemy, of the monsters, that knowing that many people would not be like tuned in. So you're like, wait, first of all, you're getting woken up by a friend, and then of all the friends, it's one of the people who's religious who would never call you on Shabbat, and so now you're probably even more disoriented.
I do not understand what's flying. I'm not believing what he's saying. I'm completely in denial. I'm digesting for a second, and then within seconds after that, I start going through my phone. I see the WhatsApp groups. I see the calls. Immediately after that, I get a call from one of my best friends in Israel. And one of the first things he starts telling me is whatever. It's talking about one of our friends that was just killed at Nova. That he was one of the first people on site that identified that even, and everything just spiraled. And I go down a little rabbit hole for 30 minutes to just catch up with what's going on. And then very quickly he's talking to my team that are all getting the text that we're on our way to base, that everyone's just dropped everything and started to go.
Yeah.
So then I went on a little, for me, the first step was also part of to going back. I got a little injured before that. I had 4 herniated discs in my back. I was supposed to technically be booked up for surgery, which didn't end up doing. just went over to make sure made an appointment to make sure I'm not fucking up my back for life. Excuse my language.
Oh my God. I forwarded
I
it.
don't
I
know
was like,
about
let me
that.
report.
Yeah. So with that, I got very quickly after actually part of in the third team, which if you're curious to tell the story, whatever we know about the shortage of equipment, Gramick, dear friend, one of his best friends didn't have one, didn't survive the first days. So did the immediate action, got a lot of stuff for my team, my brigade, and went down there myself with about, I don't know, 7 backpacks filled with stuff. Also, while also primarily buying stuff out of Israel itself, and then joined up, and that's how the party started.
Yeah,
You can call it like that.
Yeah, on top of like on top of like all of the craziness of like each of you trying to reach friends, reach family, whether you were already in Israel or outside of Israel, it was absolute chaos, right? Because everyone's trying to reach other people, and do whatever they can, and it was so surreal. And I remember just being like, that can't be right. This can't, like, what? And
United States.
It's like, how is this even possible? Now, Israel is such a small country, like physically, geographically, like it fits inside New Jersey. And so because of that, and because there is this sense of community and everyone joins the army, and you meet people that maybe you wouldn't necessarily have met, they didn't necessarily grow up next to you in your kibbutz or the city that you lived in or any of those things. You're meeting all these people. So inevitably, you know someone that was, either living in the two of the hardest hit kibbutzim, Kfar Aza or Be'eri, or you know someone that was at Nova, or a friend or a family member or something that was like most immediately impacted by this. And when people were reporting, it was like hundreds of thousands of people. And again, Israel is a small nation, and even the most equipped nation couldn't possibly, like, the influx was just, there was so much going on, like you said. And I think that the most important part of all of this is not like, well, why weren't all these things available or anything like that? That just really, it's not the point. It's not now. And but it's like how amazing it was that people came together. And you said, not only did I come, but I made sure that I was coming with like extra supplies. And I know that there were so many beautiful pushes around in different communities to get care packages for troops or other needed equipment and stuff like that. And again, without getting into like the politics of the equipment, whatever, like something I'm involved with is Unit 11741. I met this very amazing person, Daniel, who's like, I'm not going to sit idly by when I can get, up to date equipment and things that, because at this point the government is trying to take care of the soldiers, the people who are displaced, like all these other things are just going on, and there's so many moving parts. But I think there was, even in the darkest of times, through Judaism, we are commanded to be the light. And I think that is entirely the message that keeps getting lost in all of this. And I am not taking away from any of the horrors that happened on that day or that have continued to happen, or any of the continued threats that Israel is still facing. But the beauty and the light of Israel has shined brighter than any dark depths of hell that these monsters came from could ever bring to the world. And I think that that's the most important part of all of this. Like the fact that both of you dropped everything and reported, the fact that, people stopped, or like you said, that your religious friend picked up the phone, which he probably had never done in his entire life, unless he was not as religious before, on Shabbat, to be like, Aaron, we got to talk. You need to know what's going on. Do you know what's going on? And there are these reports of, and stories about religious individuals who got into their cars and drove down to see what they could do. Right? Like, and there's just no thought in your mind whatsoever. Like, this is obviously because, again, even within the laws of Judaism, and by all means, Aaron, if I mistake, and I because you said you grew up a little more religious, if I say something wrong, please feel free to correct me. But it's like beyond pekuach nefesh. It's like, it's always safety first, right? It's like the human life before like a religious obligation. So
that's exactly what Pikuach Nefesh means.
That's the translation.
That's the direct translation. You catch that?
no,
You got
I'm
it.
I just I do know some stuff, but that's exactly it, and it's just this idea, right? Again, that sense of community. It's not just me, it's us. And I think that is something that what you guys have done, what you did, what you are doing, and what you are continuing to do is such a beautiful snapshot, Tamuna. It's a beautiful little picture of what all of this encompasses and what we are continuing to show the world. I mean, sure, we're also saying, like, by the way, you may have made us bend, but you definitely did not break us. Never have, never will. It's just not going to happen. But in that strength, there's also this beauty. And I think that Maor's like, yeah, I know, you're talking about me.
No, not about me, but I know that the October 7 and all the situation create a lot of too many. I'm sorry to say that, but too many beautiful stories and hero stories that most of the time don't ending with a good endings. For example, I have two friends. They actually are brothers. They went to fight on October 7. They're not reserved. They're not what on uniform. They're not was on duty. They just take the car, take the personal gun. Two brothers went to the south and find they killed over there. Fight for the people, fight for the kibbutzim until the really bad end. But this is a beautiful story. This is I don't know, Hollywood movie for it creates a lot of heroes. The 7 October creates many heroes. So it's not about me and Aaron. Of course, Aaron is much beautiful than me, but it's on the outside. Inside also, it's create a beautiful nation. I think it's I don't know, make a light spotlight about the beautiful Israeli. They used to be here, like in I don't know, Yom Kippur war or
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
I do. And of course, they made the movie Golda, so there's hopefully more people that know what you're talking about when you say like the Yom Kippur War, like with her cigarette and everything. I actually have two pictures on my wall that are just to my right of Golda. One's her and Ben Gurion, and the other one is just the iconic, like she's got the cigarette going. Like
iconic with the cigarette, exactly.
I love her. Like I wish I could have met her.
That was a huge generation. It was a huge, like all the generation of Golda and Ben Gurion was hero. They create the Israel, like not created, they recreated.
Yeah.
They make I don't know, the new Israel. They were all hero, and I remember when I was a kid, I always said I wish I can live in these times, in old times. But now I remember we're talking about the unit inside Gaza. We say, stop 1 second. Look where we are. We are the hero generation.
Oh, okay. That's like you mean like
before
2005?
I used to live there.
Yes. So again, I'm gonna put this out there. So before 2000, all the way up until 2005, Gaza was actually Israel, and we gave it away because we're just like that sad person in the relationship who's like, if I just give more, maybe they'll finally love me and they'll finally like stick to the things that they swear and that they promise to do, which is live in peace, because all we want to do is live in peace. And so we gave away a huge slice of paradise to let them crap all over it. And, after they burned all the fields that, your family and other families had taken all this time to cultivate, and they were just given, like, here you go, everything is all set. After they burned all those, because nothing says F you more than let me burn my own sources of income and eating. Then they went and burned all the synagogues. So this just I mention this because I think it's important for people to remember who maybe are not as familiar. And if you're thinking, oh well, Anya's just like making stuff up, okay, go ahead and like look at all the documented proof and satellite photos and everything from 2005 and before. It's all there. Like it's just
and
you can't.
Testimony of someone who was kicked out, was pulled out of his home and couldn't live there anymore after they gave it away.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, when they say all these like, bullshit things about Israel, like there's apartheid and, blah, blah, blah. There are places that Jews can't go, even in current proper Israel. There's signs, no Jews allowed. So it's like the colleges and universities here in America. But there's no place in Israel where it says like no Muslims, no Druze, no Christians. That just doesn't happen. And
No.
before
The right opposite.
Yeah.
yeah, oh,
The right
yeah, I know.
opposite.
And before October 7th, there were many Gazan civilians, there's no such thing, who were coming into Israel proper and working in the kibbutzim in the south that, were actively part of the monstrous terrorist pieces of shit that not
That was
only
the
aided
last
and
point.
abetted, but participated. They had drawn out maps, detailed maps of kibbutzim, how many people lived
Yeah,
in houses, if they had
exactly,
dogs, if they
exactly.
had kids. So these sacks of shit worked for Israelis for years, getting a better life and getting great pay and taking it back to their Gazan civilian population. Just in case anyone's not clear on the truth or where I stand, it becomes pretty clear if you listen to me for 5 seconds. So it is very upsetting. And, as much as I think it's, we do need to talk about like all the things that did happen. And I have been volunteering to take testimony of survivors. I started with people from Kibbutz Be'eri, and I have never in my life met more amazing, more powerful people, more noble people who show such resilience and such perseverance as when I went down. And I had, when I say this word, I think both of you will understand what I mean. I feel privileged to be allowed that I was able to walk through Kibbutz Be'eri with one of the survivors, and he shared with me his family story and the stories of people who can't tell their stories anymore because they are either missing or they were murdered. And I was very humbled by the experience. I still am not really sure how to explain to people. And I just experienced the after, right? Like I wasn't there during. And I think that, like you said, it created far too many beautiful stories of light of these people who saved people at the expense of their own life or saved people and were able to survive. And both of
Sacrifice his life.
yeah, and again, I think
Exactly.
that is something that, whether it's because of mandatory service, it's because Israel's surrounded by people who want its destruction. And I use the word people very generously, because if your goal is to annihilate another human being, you're not really a person. And I don't know what exactly it is that brings you guys to this point, but I'm just grateful that there are people in this world like this, because so many have forgotten what freedom and like that kind of privilege looks like, to live your life the way that you would like to,
Exactly.
and the sacrifices that go into it. And both of you spoke about reporting, and I know, Aaron, you briefly mentioned Gaza, and Maor, you also mentioned that you went to Gaza. And I don't know if you want to share. I mean, obviously there's certain things you can't say, but I don't know what that must have been like for you, at least, or like to return to a place where you used to live, but as of 2005, you were no longer allowed to be there. You couldn't be like, hey, I want to go like take my bike down my old neighborhood street that I grew up on. No, sorry, that's not going to happen.
It's not the same place, It's look like
Oh,
and
not at all.
smell like. Nah, it's the same geographic place, but what the Palestinians doing there, what the Arabs doing for this, I don't know, parasite, it's became a hell. It's became disgusting. It's the most. I have to say that is the most. I don't know, disgusting place that I am been, and I am been with dirty places. Okay, this the most disgusting place is the smell is bad, the view is bad, everything is bad. It's look like shit. Really, it's everything is it's dark. It's dark there. So it's geographically it's the same place, but visually and I don't know, sense and souls is not the same place.
Yeah.
It's not the same place. It's not the same home.
Do you think that made it harder or easier for you when you had to be in that area?
I don't think about it when I was
That's
there.
fair.
I think about a couple things. First of all, it's try to locate and return the hostages. That's the most priority things. And the second was to fight about Israeli honor, about, hey, we're still here, we can fight. It's not gonna happen again like it's happened in the Holocaust. We have an
Correct.
army, we have a country, we are proud Jews. It's not gonna happen us again. That's the main two things that it was in my mind when I fight there. I don't think about myself. That's the reason why I'm not scared of about the bullets then fly over my head. I don't think about it. I have two methods to think about it, two ideals, and that's only thing. That's the two things that I'm think of.
Yeah, and we're now, at the end of August, and we're over 10 months out. We're almost at 11 months. And we still have over 100 innocent souls that are unaccounted for. And I just want to remind everyone about that because I'm going to take a second and get a little political. And neither of you have to weigh in on this because it's American politics. But since that we're based in the U.S., I am going to say it. I think it's disgusting and shameful that the DNC and the disgusting Democratic Party paraded out those parents in front of everyone, and people in the room were like, bring them home. I'm like, listen, every single one of you have never uttered that phrase until the TV was on you and you were at this convention because you thought it was cool. So shame on all of them. I can't imagine the pain that those parents are going through, and the fact that there still are over 100 innocent souls that were taken, and I don't know what has happened to them, what is still happening to any of those hostages that were taken, ripped from their lives because they were in Israel. That's the only reason. They were not combatants. There was nothing about that. So we do need to remember that. And that is like you said, there are two main things. We're going to, do safety. We're going to protect ourselves. And we're looking for those who were taken. And I think that those two reasons are the only reasons that this is happening. And the thing is, people need to remember that Israel has the right to defend itself. We don't have to justify our existence. No other country would ever have to do that. And that is, the IDF goes through painful steps to protect any civilians, even though I don't know, there's literally proven that there's no civilians there anymore. But at the expense of the lives of IDF soldiers. And I know yesterday, I haven't looked today on the group that I find out with the updates of like what's happened, if any soldiers have been wounded or lost. But yesterday I was reading quite a few, and it's very painful, and it's particularly hard for me as a parent when I look at the faces and the ages, and like at the prime of their life and just starting their lives, or even, and it doesn't matter if you're younger, if you're reservist, your life was stolen, and it's really hard. And I want people to remember that this is the painstaking steps that Israel is going through to defend itself. So you were, and again, we're not going to talk about what you saw and any of that, because that's not the purpose of this, and it's not going to help anyone understand who you are as a person.
Face to face when you come down here.
Oh, that's fine, and it's not for like the podcast purpose. It's like the fact that you guys are sitting here right now, the fact that we can talk about these serious things, but also have a very good time. That is what I want people to understand when they meet both of you. That is what I want people to understand when the reason behind all of this, this beautiful organization that you guys are part of has been created. And, war is a dark, dark thing. And I did tape a podcast, as I said yesterday, with a veteran from the United States who served overseas. And he talked about what him returning to the States, how hard that was, and the PTSD, and that he felt like there was no support. And he took into his own hands to start his own organization, providing service dogs to veterans to help with PTSD. And we talked about that, right? And so it's like, it's not about what you've been through, but it's about how you kind of react to what has happened to you. And part of that is drop everything, report to reserve, to Milum, and serve my country and protect my family and my friends and even the strangers that are my brothers and sisters. But in addition, it's like I came back, and I can't imagine like stopping any part of your life to all of a sudden do something so stressful for any amount of time and then just, like, oh, you're just supposed to just drop back into your life the way that it was because you hit pause before you left and everything should just start up again. Like, I don't think that that's how life works.
It
Which
doesn't.
then correct. So this is like, and it's like, what do we do? And, look, Israel has stuff for veterans and the United States has stuff for US veterans, and all of those systems can definitely be made better. You can always be better. But specifically because of this situation where you had Israelis who dropped everything, who were living overseas, particularly for the purposes of your organization in the United States.
And Americans.
And Americans, correct. We had there are some Americans that just were like, yep. Like there are people like myself, and they're like, okay, no, actually, this horribly dark day only confirmed for me that Aliyah is the only answer. So I think that that's really important when there's these people who stopped their lives and then served in Israel but came back to another country. So it's not like the U.S. is like, oh, here, let me help you reacclimate. No. So
not Israel, not the U.S.
Correct, because you're not living in Israel, you're living in the United States. So, Aaron, you also, just like Maor, hit the pause button, went home, served in reserve, and wherever it was, if you want to say you can, if not, no big deal. But then you returned and you were like, huh. You realized that there was this big void.
Yeah. So primarily, actually, me and Maor serve in the same brigade, different parts of it. So we're mostly in the same areas, usually 50 to 200, 300 meters, or sometimes a little more. So primarily fighting in Gaza. When coming back, I was there for about 4 months. That we only a few times had the times of going out and seeing family. I felt this, I don't know how to say it, this void. I felt that you just can't get back to normal life. So as much as, I wanted to dive back into my medical supply business, it just wasn't the same. And I found myself just feeling off. So I did everything I could think of doing at the time. I quit smoking I don't know what to call it, let's call them Gaza cigarettes, because every time I had a downtime, I would smoke. I started waking up at 5 a.m. to do my first workout of the day. I did at least 1 of 2 workouts of the day. To the point, even though I lost weight there, I lost another over 10 pounds coming back from just the constant trying to get that adrenaline rush, like going again or something else, because you're on 100%, and then going back to it. Okay. Then I started to speak to friends that didn't serve in the military. 1 second.
The battery is running low.
That's all right.
Seconds.
So we're that's okay. Yeah. So we're gonna fill in for him right now. So there is this void, right? I think that there was an important point that Aaron brought up, and it's like your adrenaline is going, because you're constantly. It's not like you can take a night and just sleep it off while you're in enemy territory and really relax. Mm-hmm. People, it's constant stress, and so that does stuff to your body. And now you're so your mind, you're trying to readjust, right? You're not constantly having to be alert. And then but also physically.
And even to speak about your experience with other people, it's not that they don't have compassion or empathy, they just don't get it. They weren't there. So while speaking to all my friends in the area, I felt as if I'm speaking a foreign language to them.
Yeah, you can tell them, like Aaron said, you can tell them about the smells, but they don't understand the smell because they don't be there.
Yes.
You see, I can tell you about the view, you can imagine that, right? But if I tell you about the smells and about the feeling of the ground, or grass, or sand, you even can't imagine it.
Or you that's why I'm accepting their faith, right? There's a lot of moments that you have your life flash in front of your eyes. But so with that, I spoke to a very close friend and mentor of mine, Iran, who founded an amazing organization, Yedidim, that sort of does the sense of when you were speaking about Israel, about the 3 people helping out. So he does that in mass in Florida. A different friend of mine that has a couple of mental health institutions down here in New Jersey, funny enough. And there's one conclusion that came over me. There is no way that I'm alone. There's no way. So I made this flyer, posted it in the Facebook group, WhatsApp group. I was like, hey, any person who came back from Iron Swords, it's in the area, we're doing a little clubhouse meeting. mostly from just like even my own wanting and need to just have someone to share this experience with.
Yeah.
And I think about 13 guys that I never met showed up, including Maor. And that's also one of the reasons there's only 13 pools, and I decided to invite, whoever asked them in case they could come and join us. It's sort of the fundamental how this all began, because he's literally there from the beginning with us.
Yeah.
And brought it to them. Immediately, the conversation was electrifying. If it was different points of battle, understanding, I was there, he was there to understand what happened with injured and even hostages or even terrorists.
You're talking about this battle. You've been you've been there. I've been there. So everything got connected.
Like live closure happening
Yeah.
on the spot, and then
Yeah.
just also be able to speak about it freely. Right? It's
A
not
safe
something
space.
you don't speak about it with your family.
Exactly.
You don't speak about it with your friends. There's just some stories that are just it's not. And there's obviously the questions people don't. There's a lot of questions you should not ask veterans, right?
Exactly.
If I
Oh
would
my
say
God. Yes.
like, what's
And
the number one question?
Well, how you feeling? Are you
No,
okay?
no.
What?
How many people?
how
you've
many
killed?
people did you kill?
It's
Exactly.
not a question you ask.
Like
No, and
people try it like it's a number, and when
No.
you are, it's like without filters. It was it's the
No, it's
meaning without
stupidity.
filters.
It's
It's
complete
it's
stupidity.
stupidity,
If
and
someone
it's
ever has to be in that scenario of taking life, or even if someone didn't have to take someone's life, you don't ever.
Yeah.
It's not something you take joy or happiness with. It weighs a very heavy toll on your soul, and it's not something you speak about. It's not a question you ask.
I
So-
agree, and I do think that that's really important to say because at one point in the last decade I did teach, and we used to have a veteran come in and speak about certain things, and I would be very clear with the students. I was like, if any single one of you says, how many people did you kill? I go, not only are you going to be writing like a 5-page essay on why you're like really at things I can't even say, not that I would say that to the student, but I was like, why this is inappropriate and all these other things. I was like, I will
You know what answer?
I will be taking consequences. You will fail this entire unit. Like I was like, it is so inappropriate. And it's the same thing. Like people are like, oh, to cops. Oh, did you ever kill anyone? Okay. First and foremost, I get that I blame like society and video games and all the things that people that they're so like dense that they don't get it. But when I say a safe space, it's like, look, I think, Aaron and I talked briefly before, and I think this is part of like this understood, like you don't even, there's nothing that has to be spoken between any of us. You know that if you need something and I can help you, I'm going to do it. But as much as I'd like to say, well, if you guys want to talk to me and tell me about things, I can try and I can want and I can be there and I can be empathetic, but I will never understand what you went through because I did not go through it. And I can want, and when I say I want to understand, I know that you understand that I don't mean like I would like to have that experience. No, I don't know if my psyche could handle it. But I know that what I can do is, be of assistance in any way possible in the capacity that I have. But the importance of what you guys have together is because no one else could possibly understand, but you guys. So, if that is what, is the best thing. And then if you did have to talk about what you had to do, that is the safe place for all of it, is when you guys are together. So I do think it's really important for people to understand why there's a need for that space and this physically, emotionally, all of it. So you're like, I'm not alone. We already are like, and again, whether you two happen to serve in the same brigade unit, but that doesn't mean that the other people who may have gone into kibbutzim or whatever the case may be of where they were immediately mobilized doesn't mean you guys can't talk to each other, because there's still that shared understanding. So talk to me more about that.
About what, the shared experience?
Just kind of like, you're like, okay, so I
What
put it
part
out
of-
there, all these people came,
So
and then it's just
immediately,
like, whoa.
while we're so even while there, I brought it to the guys there, asking them what they want, what they need, what they want to get out of it. One of the first questions I sat down with you and Maor, asked them, what do you want to get out of? What do you want to get out of this organization? What do you want to get out of this group? And very quickly, not only was the sense of camaraderie and community, right? There's the other aspects, coupling therapy, helping adjust, job
Yeah.
placement, all the stuff that it becomes hard, right? When your cognitive functions have taken a big hit and just coming back to the regular normality of it is not easy. And even some points, I would say almost impossible to do that and get reintegrated into it. It's everything from your life has changed. It's those shared experiences and moments, right? Even when Maor was in the kibbutzim, there are a lot of other people who are in the kibbutzim. There is the basic understanding, especially from this war, of the hyper of experiences and also that willingness of dropping everything and going, those two unique factors that have created people that very like-minded, not a man, if they're American, we have English, we got South African, we have all sorts. Even the majority of organizations, funny enough, are American and not Israeli. But it's that same, those two biggest mindsets that to create that family. And I'm very happy to say that one of the most important things, like out of like the three major things we do as an organization, is that community and family. Is that weekly events, it's the Shabbat dinners, it's the other activities that are around it, and like you don't have to just hear it from the horse's mouth, but like, I think that's one of the most unique and special things that we've actually been able to create. I'll love to even ask more how what he thinks about what the family creation that's been made here and the sense of camaraderie.
I agree with every word. No, really.
You didn't even have to pay him to say that.
No, you don't. I really appreciate Aaron about what Aaron and Aaron about what they do in here, what they did here, and what they do in here. And yeah, like Aaron said, it's not was like single time. It's every week, every single week, at least one meeting, that free space, and we can just be yourself and without filters, without without nothing. Just be yourself, and we love you as you are because we are sharing the same feeling. Even if it's not like exactly sharing feeling, because the war is individual things. Everyone can take it to other places, but still here together we are. It's a free, it's a open space and free space without nothing. And about the action that Aaron says, so it's weekly meetings, and we have a lot of program that the part of the really important part of the rehabilitation, rehabilitation, as the horses activity that we are doing, as the seals activity, like a sea sports with boats and jet skis and wakeboarding and 3-point. So yeah, the older organization, what is create is amazing, and I'm sharing the same feeling, and I have a big thanks about that.
Yeah, and I think, the important thing to remember is that, when you guys hit pause before you dropped, everything and went to report, no matter what, like, part of life you were in, whether you were working, maybe you left some siblings and parents, maybe you left a partner, maybe you left kids, first and foremost, that initial sacrifice is something that's very hard for people to understand. That's a given. But in addition, as much as you love the people that are around you in your, like the people who you left to go serve, you don't want to burden them with your experiences, but also as much as they love you, can't necessarily understand what you were just facing as well. So there's that, like, you do need a space and people, a physical space, but also just like a place to get together to just talk like a group. And you've established that by just what you guys have done so far. And I know what you hope to grow to, because, and I know that, Aaron, you mentioned when we were talking beforehand that in addition to all these, like, weekly options, whether it's a meeting or an activity, a physical thing, or just we're hanging out in this physical place, which you now have, which you guys are sitting in, which we'll get to in a minute, that there's also activities for like the children or spouses or parents or siblings to also be part of it, because they have some shared experiences that no one else could possibly understand, but someone else who's been in that same position.
Exactly.
And, a lot of people talk about, the toll that it takes on those you leave behind when you serve. And so the thing is that because you guys have this place and you're really thinking about how do we best help each other, all of those things are being thought of and taken care of and part of this, this mission that you have, this situation that you've created. And this pseudo, Mishpuchah family. And that's the thing about Israel, I think, in general, that this doesn't shock me at all that it was brought to my attention that this exists. Because, of course it would, obviously, but of course it would, because this is how it is. I'm struggling, so that means there's others struggling like me. And I think that that's like a really important piece, that so often people are so kind of caught up in their own whatever, that they forget. And what you have created is the light, the hope, the future, the promise that, we are here for each other. Nothing will shake us. Nothing will end this. We will always be here. And what I want to do, through this podcast and other activities that you guys have and help, publicizing this, is that I want you guys to be able to grow your resources. Now, you guys are trying to acclimate back to life. Your family is your friend. You've returned to the South Florida area. We'll say that. And you guys now have this physical space, which is amazing. And I know that there are a bunch of different activities and partnerships that you guys have created through the nonprofit of IVC to help make sure that this is possible. Because last time I checked, money does not grow on trees. And it's crazy because it does take money for things to happen. It's crazy. Like, no matter what's going on. And, while when October 7th happened, my life was forever changed as well. Not to the degree of either of you, but most of my business was based, I had Israeli clients, and a lot of my clients lost everything. And when they lost everything, I lost everything. Yeah. And I pivoted my life to do the only thing that I have the capacity to do. I don't have the skills to serve in the IDF. I was also told, even though age is just a number, that I was apparently too old. And since I had never served, they did not really need me. Or as some of my friends in Israel say, Anya, you have no skills. This type of stuff. But what I do have is a really big mouth. So for that, I will talk and talk and talk, whether you're listening to me or not. And I will make sure that people know what they need to do, what they can do, how they can help, and all of that stuff. So that I will use my my big old mouth. My father said when I was in high school, Anya, my God, you never stop talking. I hope you find a job where you get paid to talk. And I was like, haha, joke's on you, Dad. That's actually what I did. So, yay, thank you to my dad for encouraging me to talk. I don't think my teachers liked it so much, but that's all right. Poo-poo on you. But the thing is, I want to make sure people understand that there are things that they can do, and there is a need that will continue. Not only are you guys coming back, but in Israel, like, look, the life in Israel has been forever altered. It doesn't mean ended. It just means altered. Businesses are having to deal with things, people have lost homes, they're still displaced we're coming up on almost 11 months and people are still not in their homes, etc. So there's a lot of ways to help and to continue to be engaged. And I think that that's the most important piece for people to understand. And sometimes people were like, well, I want to help, but I'm not in Israel, or I'm not feeling like I can visit Israel, or, I just can't drop things and leave, but I'm here in the States. So what can I do? Okay, well, here's what you can do. You can get involved with an organization like yourself. And you guys have a website, and we'll put all the details and contact information up on the podcast so that people can inquire, can make donations, perhaps offer services. Like you said, we have, therapeutic services like equestrian activities in the sea, or maybe you have activities with different therapists or mental health professionals. There are so many ways that people can be engaged, and all they have to do is ask, right? All they have to do is contact and say, I'd like to help. How can I do that? But listen, like if you're someone who's like, you know what, I'd like to help, and I just have this like wad of money laying around in my bank account, and I've been looking to write a check to someone, Aaron will happily take that check for the nonprofit, because you will now know about all the activities that your donation will be able to make happen.
And
But
we have to even get them involved so they can even meet the veterans themselves.
yes,
Currently, right now,
absolutely.
we're standing just in South Florida. About 100 veterans that all live here, that all went to go fight and go back. We keep on growing somehow on a weekly rate. It sounds like a simple thing of just beating up, and it sounds like it's not a big deal, but obviously we need the help. And as much as doing an outreach program sounds like, oh, what's the point? But just that common space, that therapeutic space, that sometimes we even bring neuropsychologists to come even explain, like you're saying before about trauma, how it affects the body and mind. But to help get involved with everything and get back to life, because these are the people that need most. There is a problem here, and just we're trying to be the solution. And the solution means dedication, and a lot of time and hard work. I've thrown in myself full throttle inside to do anything in my capacity to make it done, from understanding that gut feeling and trying to turn my trauma into triumph. And we have a lot of success stories already.
Yeah.
A lot of, not only because, right, our third aspect is sort of, I guess let's call it like funding. So if it's covering people's therapy, if it's to go over and help with random associated bills that someone had to go over unexpected, that just because of the big hit of being away for over half a year, dropping everything, needs that little push, right? We don't believe in giving out stuff. We believe in giving someone a push to get back up. Or a flooding that happened in someone's house here. You know, Florida, beautiful sun, but sometimes the rain can definitely come down. That we all went with a GC, over 12 guys throughout 4 hours. It was between two holidays, and completely dismantled everything that was going. He just had a baby that was born. And
Mazel tov.
Yeah, so mold in the house is one of the worst things. So we came there as one, as a family, and took care of it. Everything that goes over, it costs money. Go over, you can sponsor an event. If you're even if you have something amazing to offer too, prior to the events, we usually bring in guest speakers, guest lectures to help associate. If it's something more empowering or something that can be more educational, we're open to any partnerships. We really are. Obviously, we do evaluations because we can't just bring willy-nilly people inside. But yes, we are completely open and would love to have someone come over. We're doing a partnership this week, this Thursday night event. I'll tell you what we're doing. For example, there's a family that reached out to us that he lived down here in the US, the kids in Israel. His wife is in Israel, their grandkids. And sadly enough, he got murdered within the first few weeks of the war. His motto is to do everything with a smile, and he has a song associated with it. So they reached out and asked, hey, could we do a song and play it on the radio here in Miami? Already prior to that, we have planned with one of the Jewish high schools here that one of their class are coming an hour prior to mingle and meet the soldiers and do more of like an interactive scenario with them so they could talk, ask questions. They're going to even be cooking for us. So it's like a little ordeal for like an hour and a half. So we said, why not just mix up together? We'll play the song live, bring the radio station, and do a whole little jam session to do something truly honor his memory.
I love
That's how we're starting off the event. After that, we're doing a comedy night. We're bringing in one of the comedians down here that wants to come do a night for the veterans itself, intimate, to bring a little laughter inside this agony. And then we're doing our regular meetup. So a little jam-packed, it sounds, but we do stuff to also help bring in, associate. Each week it's something different. Each week we try making more, adding up something to add value also to the people that we know and honor them correctly. But also to, we are the biggest commonality with all the veterans, and time again I see it, is the people with the biggest hearts I know. The people that just want to volunteer, do good, right? Every time there's a drive to help out people for the holidays, or there's different volunteer opportunities, their answer is usually not when, it's usually yes, and then asking when. Like Jews, not 70 shma.
Not 70
Yeah. I'm in. What is it that you needed? Right? You're like,
exactly.
wait, you don't know what I need, but you already said yes? I think I said that to you within our first conversation. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. What do you need? What can I do? And I think that again, So, Aaron, I don't know if you realize what you said, but it's so amazing. I'm going to repeat it, and I only hope I can say it the same. But you said we're turning trauma into triumph. Turning trauma into triumph. You might want to put that up on a wall somewhere. I don't know, and people can, I don't know. You could do a chalkboard wall. Look at it. I'm already redecorating. So you can make a chalkboard wall. But that is a very amazing statement, and I think first and foremost, turning trauma into triumph is what Israel is doing. So, bam, that's what it is. And then you guys are literally encompassing what that is. You are turning trauma into triumph. You are shining a light in the darkest and darkest of times. And the thing is, monsters lurk in the dark. Okay, but they can't sustain. They have no strength. They build their strength from the darkness and the quiet and the indifference. And we see what happens when people stick their heads in the sand and aren't fighting back. Well, they made one very, very large mistake this time. They thought that maybe we would just be quiet and we might just go away. But they were very, very, very wrong, because instead, each and every person has turned on their own internal light. And when each person shines a light and there's another person that joins them, their light shines, but also they are a mirror reflecting the person's light that had shined it to them. So you guys are literally shining a light. And the thing is, I have, she's now a friend, because this is how it works in Israel. And I literally bumped into her on the street after getting her name. Oh, Anya, you have to talk to this person. Her name's Yocheved, and she is a co-founder of the Iron Swords volunteer program. So she dropped everything and moved to Israel to be with her brother, who was in the army. And she heads up a volunteer program. And every month on the 10th, she goes and lights candles around in Dizengoff Square in Tel Aviv, just to shine light on the faces of the hostages that are still missing. Because she said, look, people walk by and everything, but like when there's a light shining on it, you can't help but look. And it's just a space for people to talk or to gather, whatever it is. And that's something. So when you choose to be a light, people are drawn to that light, whether it's because they're shining a light or they didn't know how to get out of the darkness themselves. And what your organization is doing is giving people, you're like shining this light and extending this arm of like, I'm here, Hineni, here I am, come, and like we're going to help support each other. So I want everyone to understand, like, we are putting up the website. There are some pieces of information, guys, about this organization. Like, we're not pimping out the people that are involved with this. Like, some people want their anonymity. They want to stay back. They don't need you knowing everything about their personal lives. And that's fine. And that's all well and good, because what is the most important is that everyone is returning to the best version of themselves that they can be. And it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to say, I'm having a problem, because that is when you show how strong you actually are. And also when you offer to help and do whatever it is that you can. Like you said, there are so many things that you guys are open to partnering with. You open that up to people and you give them the chance to be a light in the way that they can be a light. And that will grow and grow. And you said currently you're in South Florida, and hopefully you guys can grow to other parts, of the states if there are people in the same situation. But they can also contact you even if they're not in South Florida right now, because this is something that you guys can be involved with no matter what. I know that there are people that are helping spread the word. I know that there are different ways for people to help. You have an artist that's currently making some pieces. You guys have some of his art, and he's going to be coming on the podcast later. But a portion of the profits of the art is going to support you guys. And if people have questions about like how to donate and the whole 501c3 thing, that's fine. That's an Aaron question, but you guys can also contact me and I'll put you in touch. Right. But he's right there. But you know what? Like, I also, in December of 2023, shortly after, because people were saying to me, Anya, how can I get donations? How can I help? What can I do? I also formed a 501c3 here in the States on my own, so that I could then take, if someone wanted to give me something to get to Israel, and I take absolutely nothing out of it, not a cent, not a penny, not nothing. And it's the only way for me to, like, so the IRS doesn't like come to me and be like, where's all this money that you took in and then it went out? Well, this is where it is. It went through the 501c3. So screw you, IRS. That's what I actually was doing. The right thing. But it was funny because I started to try to like gather stuff, and all of a sudden someone said to me, but Anya, you need to have like all these things. And I was like, wait, what? And I had to like pay someone to help me do this process. And it does cost quite a bit of money, even just to have the ability to help. So like, I know, Aaron, you went and did this, and a lot of us will do this, like just out of our own, just like, because you're like, this is what I need to do to help. Okay, no problem. Right. You said, people are like, yes. And you're like, do you know what you just said yes to? Helping you, but you didn't know what I asked for. Doesn't matter. What is it? Like, if I can't do it myself physically, let me find someone who can, or let me figure out how to help you get to that point. This is a way for everyone to remember how to be human. Okay. This is a chance for everyone to really like shine their light, do the right thing, stand on the side of humanity. I think in the United States, it's been maybe easy for people to say, oh, like, well, this isn't really directly affecting me. I'm not Jewish, or, whatever. Like, it's the Middle East. I don't know. And most people can't actually find Israel on a map, but they also can't identify most countries in Europe. And quite frankly, a lot of them probably can't identify each and every one of the 50 states in the United States. But that's, what that is a glaring spotlight on the lack of information in the American education system. But that's another podcast. So what people can do is like, they can come and say, how can I help? What can I do? I want to help, because what I think is the most important part is that we remember that like we all have to live together. So these are chances to be a light. This is a chance to remember humanity. If you are someone who values your life, if you are an American who never thought about the Middle East or Israel ever in your life, but you are someone who served in the army, or you're a grandparent served, or whatever it is, and you're like, I'm hearing the story of Aaron and Maor and some of these other people, and I'm like, wow, I don't know, I don't really understand the situation, but I know I want to do something. Okay, this is a chance for you to do that. And they are living here in the United States. So if you want to help your fellow American, your fellow citizen who is working and trying to make a life and doing all the right things here in the States, and be a good human, this is a chance for you, because this is not political. It's not about religion. It's not about, land. It's not about peace. It's about humanity, and remembering that without a community, you're all by yourself. And I don't want to be all by myself. I very much prefer to be part of a community. And you've created, an inner community for those with the shared experiences, but you've also given people a greater community with this and IVC to become part of like the support part of the community. So there's so many ways for people to help. I know you guys are physically, in the space. I think that's amazing. I can't wait to come down.
First ever clubhouse for IDF veterans in the United States to ever exist.
So take that, everyone else. Not kidding. Listen, when we do big. So you have a physical space, you have the network, you have everything set. But in order for it to keep going, we do need to be a we, not me, anachnu lo ani. So we're going to put all the contact information up. Yes, sometimes, there will be pictures of events, but again, we're respecting people's privacy and respecting their lives. Aww. I just want to hug you both right now. Aval, but the most to see Maor, he's like, I am with her. I get it. Yeah, it's a very awesome word. The most important thing here is that we understand that like this is a chance for everyone to like give a little, be a better version of themselves, do what they can. And you know what? It's okay for someone to say, I want to help, but I couldn't do what you guys did. Okay. Hakol beseder. That's all good, because what they can give you is what they can give you. And that's all we're asking. We're just asking people to basically, I don't know, it's crazy, do what's right. Right?
We have a lot of different ways to be part of this organization. It's not one way. It's a lot of things that anyone can do and take a part of this organization. And just say what you said.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're a
But
family, and we have an extended family.
Exactly. And I personally happen to love the Israeli accent. So I was like, yeah, it's better when Maor said it, even though, that's all good.
Yeah.
So I'm very used to
I
it.
benefit with the accent.
Yeah.
Finally,
Exactly.
it's come to my benefits.
Listen, Maor, on Zionist AF, it's always a benefit to have the accent. And one of the things that I do is, so I have, and I think I told Aaron, and I probably should have worn it, but I don't know if it's in the laundry still. I had created, in addition to of the things that I had done, going to take testimony of survivors, whether it's virtually or in person, when I am able to travel to Israel. I made up these shirts because I was really trying very hard not to tell people to go fuck themselves anymore, because my mother keeps yelling at me. And but I just couldn't take it anymore, with all these moronic people, and I say people again very loosely, protesting,
Yeah.
screaming for intifada, though some of them are so stupid they say infatada. So I'm thinking like that, like some Mexican restaurant should make up a new dish called an infatada. I don't know. And like, I'm just like, how dumb are you? My God, it rhymes already. Like, it's really not hard for you to learn this, to repeat it like
And the
a
funny
brainless
things
moron.
that really don't know what is it mean intifada. It's in Arabic.
No, they
don't know what it mean. It's bad for both sides. Doesn't help.
Yeah, but it just shows how empty people are, and how pathetic they are, and like there's some people that will do anything when they get paid, and there's some people who are just so stupid, and they're like, it's so cool to be a victim.
What happens
when
you don't have community?
That's right.
See, that it's true. That's what happens when you don't grow up with morals. That's what happens when you don't have a community. You end up like these sacks of shit that are on the college campuses now. And I'm not going to call them students, and I'm not, but I will continue to call it the institutions Cornell. Seriously, a big gust of wind in the gorge. I'm just saying, it could happen.
What's the first favorite word?
Aval. Maor was on it. Aaron, you were sleeping. Aaron, wake up. See, Maor was like, I'm on it.
He was focused with other things. He tried. He still think about that.
It's all right. I already
IVC
love
group.
you, even though we've never met, and I'm here for you. So I will excuse it this one time.
Thank God, I was worried.
But only this one time. I know, right? You were like, oh, I'm shaking in my seat over here. But
it's the last time. Be on it right now.
Now he's on
Since
it.
now. Since now.
But I had, so I decided I was going to be like more like the people in the South. Well, bless your heart. They're basically politely telling you to go F yourself. So I started saying, Batzlecha, like, which is, good luck, like best of luck, bye-bye now. But I just screamed out one day, Batzlecha! And because you guys do love to swear in English, and fuck is the favorite one. So I made up the shirts, and it says Bahatz fucking cha on the front, and on the back it says it 6 times, not 7. Kacha b'Shabbat. Ani tzricha. Like even I need a day off from telling you to go fuck yourself. Like, so on Shabbos I rest. On the 7th day, God said you should rest. So I rest. I need a day off from pointing out people's stupidity. But I did create these shirts, trademark them in the United States, so if someone tries to rip me off, it's not going to happen, because all the profits go to charities. So I think, maybe with the next batch, Aaron, what I should do is print them. When we print them, you can be like the next designated charity, because you're helping, Israeli veterans. So you'll be the next batch. So again, I'm just saying. So when we have to reorder, we'll definitely work on that, and I'll have you guys come back on, and maybe we'll launch that so we know like orders from this date to this date are going all to you guys. Plus, you guys can model the shirts and make them look so awesome. But it is fun. In addition, I also have, of course, my Zionist AF attire that I have, because listen, if Zionism is a dirty word, then talk dirty to me, baby, because I am Zionist AF unapologetically, and I know I should be a comedian. My life is a joke. It's true. And I don't expect everyone to like adorn themselves in the different layers of Judaica that I have on, because of course I have my state of Israel, and I have my hashtag, and I have my other state of Israel, and then my star. But I wear a lot of Israeli silver. And so there's a lot of companies here that are also donating. So if anyone ever wants, information, I have it all. And I only wear stuff from people that are made in Israel. And I only wear Israeli silver. So I'm always out there, like, happy to help people because there are so many ways to help, right? There are companies that have people that are in reserve, so they need help. So they need, people to, help sustain them. I wish you guys, I'll have to re-blue my hair for when I come down to Florida because it's starting to fade. I was out in the sun quite a bit in Israel, so it did take the blue out quite a bit. But I'm not saying everyone has to go over the top and do that, but I want people to step up. And the thing is, you do not have to be Jewish to be part of this. You do not have to be Jewish to support this. You just have to be a human, and you just have to have a conscience and a soul and a brain. So
amen for that.
Yes. And even though things in the United States are getting dark again, mostly because this country is going to, one of the expressions in English, hell in a handbasket, as some people in the South would say. No matter what's going on college campuses, you guys are being a light. And I do thank Florida, and I thank your governor, because he is one of the few level-headed politicians that is not allowing any of this hateful crap to go on. But that's another opportunity. Like, maybe there are a couple of college campuses, college Hillels, college Chabads, whatever the case may be. College students, just, I don't know, group of students. Again, you do not have to be Jewish to be part of this. You just have to have a soul and remember that, this is about humanity. There are ways for them to get involved with you, to partner with you, and whatever the case may be, you guys are there as a resource, not only to the people you're supporting, but you're able to help people figure out ways that they can help in different ways. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that. Like, first and foremost, thank you very much for sharing your time with us here on Zionist AF, because it is every story together that helps us better understand, and we're stronger together than we are alone, right? So it's we, not me, anachnu lo ani. And I will give you guys, I'd like to say this right now. I'm not sure how this will happen, and maybe I'll talk to some of the partners that you already have. But Aaron, I did share with you that I crafted my own From the River to the Sea, Israel Has and Always Will Be poem, song, whatever you want to call it. But I did put that out there. It's out on my X and my Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube and all of that stuff. But I'd like to maybe somehow make it into a nice print and make sure that you guys have it. And I've been asking people to record, one or two lines that they'd like to say. Like, one of the lines is, "From the river to the sea, all Israelis worship freely," or "From the river to the sea, Israel is full of innovation and creativity." I had to think about some of the lines because it's not in front of me. If you guys want to record them, we're going to end up putting a big thing together with different people reading the lines together as well, because what we want to remind people is it takes a village, right? And a moshav, a kibbutzim, a village. That's how we live. And I do think that this is a way for people to experience that small piece of what Israel really is, and it's a village. So, any final thoughts for anyone, Maor or Aaron?
Thank you so much for your time.
Exactly.
Pleasure talking to you and start getting to know you. We're looking forward to having you at our clubhouse.
Cannot wait.
So you get to, it's going to be amazing.
So, I think we already have the event planned. It's a shakshuka, bonanza.
Yeah, we have the concept.
Wait, Israelis are going to get together and have food?
Oh, we never have food at our events. That's
no. We actually fast, right?
Yeah, intermittent fasting.
Exactly.
Listen, intermittent fasting doesn't work for everyone. It works better for men than women. It's just not fair, but that's all right. I'm not fasting. We're going to have shakshuka or something. I don't know. We'll have fun.
Exactly.
We'll get a lot of good old-fashioned Israeli bread, too.
I also want to say a big thank you for a great opportunity to share with you and meet you. I'm also hope to see you soon here in South Florida.
Well, B'ezrat Hashem, it will be very soon. Yes. And so, guys, if you have any questions about ways to help, whether it's your own time, it's money, it's a resource that you have, we're going to have all their contact information. But Baruch, obviously, everyone is always welcome. I do think I say that word very well, by the way. But if you don't, you don't get to disagree with me on that.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just really like saying it. It's a fun word.
Go for it.
Anyone can ask questions at any time to me. Like, there's no question that isn't worth asking. Okay. So reach out to me, to IVC directly. We'll have all that contact information here. Guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Go enjoy. I know that we heard some voices in the background, so there's some other people there. Go do what it is that you guys need to do. From the Zionist AF, podcast community, thank you so very much. I am very humbled and I'm full of gratitude for allowing me to be able to speak to you guys and at least meet you face to face through the screen for now. And B'ezrat Hashem, very soon, we will be, together in the South Florida area. And I'll call some of those friends we have in common and let them know that we have this like big shakshuka plan going, and that we'll have to figure out when to go ahead and start that. So thank you guys so very much.
Thank you.
This episode will be coming out.
Thank you for letting us tell our story.
I am more than happy, and I cannot wait. And you guys, just so you know, in addition to the other pledge I made, you are welcome to come on the podcast at any time to talk about upcoming events, or just to give updates, or just to be like, hey, I want to hang out because it's fun to be Zionist AF. You are welcome anytime. All you have to do is reach out to me, and we'll set it up again. So until the next
one thing
time,
I want to plug though.
Yes.
We're doing a very large open memorial for October 7th. Obviously, it's in our duty and we have to do. So if anyone's in down South Florida, I'll also drop a link. Tickets are free. Obviously, a free community event. If anyone wants to join up and be one of our sponsors, always welcome to. It's going to be, I won't get into all the details, but we're putting a lot of effort and work into it.
It's going to be important.
Very important, very large. We are capped at about 400 to 500 people. And that's it. And you're going to hear first-time stories of veterans that were there on the ground. We're going to get the crowd very involved inside. It is an adult-only event.
That was going to be my next question. So what is the cap? Is it 18? Is you have to be 18? You have to...
Emotional maturity is the most
important. 18,
I would say, let's say 18, 21, because it's going to be...
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be hopeful, but it's going to be tough.
Okay.
But it's going to be important. So I would recommend for 21 or 18 if you think to go to the army to get more understanding.
Mm-hmm. So if there's a parent who has a teenager who thought it would be good, I suggest that they get in contact with you directly, Aaron, before they go ahead and say, yes, we're going to want that many tickets. And that situation. So that will be up on your website and for people to see. Or no?
Funny enough, it's on we opened an Eventbrite for it, but
okay.
I will drop also the link so you guys can have it in the description too. Just sign up. We do have a lot of security for the event, so we're going to have to check IDs, but that's it.
And that's okay. And let me tell you something. I always feel safer in Israel than I do in the States. I don't mind having bag checks. I don't mind seeing people with, the gun strapped to them, whether it's a machine gun or a pistol. I'm sorry, but I feel safer in Israel, and so security is not a hassle, guys. It's a reality.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Get used to it, because it's not there to hassle you. So get over it. It's there to help you. So I think that's great, and thank you again.
Thank you
for thinking of that, and if there's any help that you need with the event, either to make sure that the security is there, because everything costs money. Let me know off the air, Aaron, and we can talk about if there's other options for people to if they can't attend, maybe they can help ensure that it's a really good event, because not everyone can travel at that time. So we'll see.
We're going to broadcast it live too.
See, perfect. Okay. It's as if he's already thought of everything. See?
We've put in a lot of time to this.
Well, it takes a village, and I'm so happy that you guys are taking trauma and turning it into triumph. You guys are being a light. So thank you to Zarba. I am very, very grateful. So we never say goodbye here on Zionist AF. That's it, Maor. I'm gonna tape you saying that, and we're just gonna play that from now on. So we say lehitraot because we will see you later.
Exactly.
Because you never say goodbye to those you love.
So להתראות ויום טוב. תודה רבה.
תודה רבה בבקשה.
See you later. תודה רבה.
Aaron and Maor, thank you both.
Bye. See ya.